Welcome back and thank you for staying with the broadcast. Kernan John, a St. Lucian resident in Ecuador, spoke to Hot 7 TV on the impact of the virus in the Latin American country.
There has been a surge of deaths due to COVID-19 in Ecuador's biggest city, Guayaquil. The number of deaths has overwhelmed both healthcare and burial services. Kernan John, a St. Lucian national residing in Ecuador, spoke to Hot 7 on what impacts COVID-19 is having on the Latin American country.
Well, it's getting kind of crucial now because, the part that you've seen in CNN, the Guayaquil, it's a city that was hit the hardest, and it's still rising. The cases are rising, and there were some people leaving bodies outside because they could not find places to, the hospitals were not taking them to bury them or to move them to the funeral homes, and it was getting rough for them. And now the government is trying to step in and provide like boxes and stuff, cardboard boxes, basically to put the people to take them away.
An article published in the New York Times stated, "The calamity unfolding in Ecuador's business capital, Guayaquil, offers an honest look at how officials' ability to respond to the coronavirus pandemic in Latin America can be dangerously hamstringed by the inequality, weak and fragile economies that mark much of the region." The epicenter of COVID-19 in Ecuador for the moment is Guayaquil.
But that's the epicenter of the virus right now in Ecuador. The other places are not as bad. We're in Quito, for example, and I think there are about 300 and something cases, but it's not as bad as Guayaquil. It's like 2,000 going on 3,000 cases. So.
John is urging St. Lucians back home to be thankful that the virus has not hit as mercilessly as can be seen in other countries. He is also asking that the public follow all protocol and measures set out, as they are not as stringent as other places.
We've been for 3 weeks. We've been in the house, like we are only allowed to shop, but they've reduced that to once a week. Before it used to be twice a week. And they do it in a very clever way. Basically, they say people with number plates ending in an even number or odd number, they can go on a certain day. They tell you which day you can go on, and that's how we know when to go and shop. Basically, there are also the numbers of your card, your ID card. They also have basically the numbers from the ID card are used for the people who don't have cards.
Very strict hygiene measures have been put in place for persons in Ecuador who venture out to get essentials. St. Lucia is being encouraged to do the same. You
line up with your social distancing as usual, and then they spray you down. When you enter the place, then they put hand sanitizer on your hands, they clean up the trolleys, and then you go shopping. That's basically what happens.
While the numbers of positive cases and deaths continue to rise in various countries around the world, St. Lucia is being urged to continue taking heed from the Ministry of Health to ensure that there is not an uncontrollable outbreak of COVID-19 on island. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzalez.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness, in collaboration with the Office of the Prime Minister, has launched a website on April 9, 2020, as a dedicated platform for COVID-19 information. This aims to provide the public with information and recent updates on the COVID-19 pandemic within the St. Lucian context. The website will be managed and updated at 12 noon daily. The website will provide the following content: a dashboard with recent global and national COVID-19 statistics, audio-visual products to support the COVID-19 response, educational material on COVID-19, interviews and statements from stakeholders on the St. Lucia response to COVID-19, contact information for assistance with COVID-19 response. The website can be accessed on the World Wide Web on the following site: www.covid19response.lc. For further information, please contact the Bureau of Health Education at 468-5342, 468-5349, or 468-5318. In Barbados, no one tested positive for COVID-19 from the 53 tests carried out on Wednesday. Meanwhile, 2 persons have recovered and have been released from isolation. The total number of people positive for COVID-19 on the island remains at 63, and the number currently in isolation is at 52. During the Hot 7 TV live program on coronavirus, St. Lucia Response, a St. Lucian living in Barbados reached out via WhatsApp call to give an indication of the COVID-19 response from his vantage point. Here's Wayne Vitalis.
We're grateful and happy to hear about the recoveries and saddened, of course, at the loss of life of two elderly persons and an individual who was relatively young at 52 years of age was the last victim. But generally, it's I think the large segment of the Barbados population is taking this virus extremely seriously. A lot of them are practicing the protocols of social distancing, but of course you would have the periods of anxiety and panic that would cause persons to forget about those protocols and pursue their immediate needs, which is food and safety for the families at home. So we've had pockets of that, but by and large, I think that the population is observing the protocols. A lot of information that is being disseminated by the authorities. The authorities appear to have a very clear plan in place.
Vitalis himself underwent testing for the virus.
There are a significant number of tests that have been done so far. But as I understand it, the protocol is that once you have been potentially exposed or you have come from a hotspot into Barbados, you are placed in, there's a determination made as either you're placed in self-quarantine or you're placed on the mandatory quarantine for 14 days. If you are in self-quarantine, you are monitored on a daily basis where nurses come to you, they call you and do random checks to make sure that you are at your home. If you break that quarantine, then the next visit would be from an ambulance and the Barbados Defense Force to place you on the mandatory quarantine. And if you develop symptoms during that time, then you are tested for it, unless you insist on getting tested.
Since February 11th, Barbados has conducted 655 laboratory tests for COVID-19. The first 2 cases of the disease were recorded on March 16th, and since then, 3 persons have died. 3 patients are currently in critical condition at the Enmore Isolation Facility, while majority of cases remain in mild or stable condition. The demarcation of the island into 2 zones, a northern and southern zone, also came with heavy police presence to ensure that everyone complies. Hot FM's Marlon Clovis reports from the checkpoints along the East Coast.
All right, so presently we are at the border where Zone 1 ends and Zone 2 begins, or Zone 2 ends and Zone 1 begins, and we are with ASP Alexander, who is in charge of the Dennery and Richmond areas. And so far, how has it been so far? Has it been troubling? Have you gotten any trouble?
Well, thus far we haven't gotten any trouble from anybody because we allowed all the vehicles that going down to deliver goods to and other services. We allow them through. For mostly persons who going down is persons going to work and whatnot who have passes. A few persons, give a frivolous excuse that they go into maybe deliver a few things. We use our discretion and we work it out and allow persons. A few persons we had to turn around because they were simply just going. The excuse was not really, anything of proper nature, so we had to turn them back.
I know there is a minimum of 2 per vehicle. Has there been a situation where you've seen, say, perhaps 3 or more, or any of that?
Yes, we had just a few, not too many. For most part, persons are complying with 2 persons per vehicle. But what we did with the 2 persons per vehicle, if there are 2 persons on a vehicle, we had one to move to the back seat. So the driver and the passenger moved to the back seat.
I've had instances of people asking me, say, for pharmaceutical supplies. Someone, for example, wanted to go to, say, Tapia Hospital, but they did not have a pass. How would someone like this be able to go through? What would you need to hear from someone like this to convince you that it's something that is necessary?
Well, in that case, I'll have a conversation with them and ask them a few questions, and if it's really to my satisfaction, I think we can allow that because I recall one person who was going for dialysis.
Mm-hmm.
He actually produced a letter. We had a conversation. He produced a letter, and we allowed him to go ahead.
But I think it would also be advisable that they call the pharmacy or they call the hospital if they had to do so as well, right?
Well, that can work too.
All right. Is there any other thing you would like to leave with people who are traveling? Because this is happening for the remainder of the week into Thursday. Is there anything that you would like to leave with people who probably think that they could just probably pass and break the law or whatnot, or those who are traveling?
I just want to leave with persons that this that is going on there is for the nation's safety. Persons should comply and they should listen to the advisory that is going out from the PM, from the CMO. They need to comply because it's for all of us, our own benefit. So we need to comply as much as possible because they're trying to keep the nation safe.
But all in all, you say most people are cooperating.
Yes, they are.
Thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
So there you have it. We just spoke with ASP Alexander, and of course concerning of the woes, the traffic woes here. Nothing much, no problems that they have really faced. But of course, he's asking that if you do try to come and of course try to play games, they will not accept it. They know what is happening. They are aware. But of course, all in all, St. Lucians have been complying, and of course they continue to do so. Of course, ASP Alexander, he's the one responsible for Dennery and the Richford area. This place will continue to be bordered up until I guess the remainder of the time given, and of course if you are coming here, if you aren't an essential worker, you will be stopped, and of course you will be asked a couple of questions. So that's what it is. If there is absolutely no need for you to be here, you don't need to come down here. Of course there is provisions made for the folks in zone 2 as well as the folks in zone 1, which is the northern area and the southern area. So that's what it is here. I am Marlon Clovis reporting.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News. Stay with the broadcast. We will be right back.